Hello, Topher.
Hello.
So how are you finding the festival?
It's quite exciting. It's unusual to be back in public and sitting with real people and a real audience that applauds and stuff. That's fascinating. I've always loved that about poetry, even with serious poetry readings. You can hear the audience being quiet and being attentive. And it just lends a lot of atmosphere. I've
Yeah.
missed it a lot.
And it's very different from, I assume, on Zoom and online readings. It's
Yeah,
not,
you don't quite get the same
No.
feel there. And I'm somebody, I like to see what the person does. I like to
Yeah.
buy the book and get it signed. I'm one of those people. And of course you don't get to do that on Zoom.
No.
You get a promissory note maybe, and maybe we'll send it to you sooner or later. And by then you've lost the enthusiasm. I saw Hilary Llewellyn Williams
Right.
yesterday and bought a selected poems, and I haven't seen her for years. I used to love her poetry. And I went home that night and just started reading it and suddenly getting lost in this wonderful poetry.
Yeah.
An ode to rain, which it was such a hot day yesterday and it's quite warm today, but this ode to rain was just wonderful. It was refreshing.
So it's quite an experience. It's a full package.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get that.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
go home and you hear the voice of them in your ear as you're reading the poems and how they do it. It lends all that to it, and so it's such a great experience. And of course, I love doing performances and readings and stuff. It is a bit much that is so much going on.
Right.
I would have liked a bit more time in between
Oh, I see. Okay.
for
Yeah.
socializing and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
because poets, we don't get to socialize that much.
No,
You don't get
yeah.
to talk to people that much. It's a bit rushed.
It's quite packed these
And
3 days.
festivals are generally like
Yeah,
that anyway, so
yeah.
you can't see everything. You have to miss things, but that's okay. You choose and
Part
pick
of
what
the
you
thing.
want to see. It's
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. How is it inspiring your work, or?
Oh, I wouldn't say it's really inspiring my work. I'm probably going to read the books and think, oh yeah, I can do something like this. You get ideas from it, and I think more it puts you in the poetic mode.
That's true.
You start thinking about poetry and involving yourself with poetry, and the next thing you know, you're writing it.
Yeah.
I've not really had any trouble writing poems. When they come, they come. When they don't, they don't. You go off and do something else.
Yeah.
I don't believe in really pushing it, all the time. Unless, of course, somebody's paying me. You get a
Yeah.
commission, then you've got to do it.
You have to do it. Yeah. Obviously. Are you working on anything at the moment?
More prose rather than poetry, but there's always poems on the back boiler, as it were.
Yeah.
There's always something there. I've written a couple of poems and put them down, and I'll come back to them later, maybe when all the hoo-ha's over, and see, is this any good, or is this just enthusiasm, or what?
Yes. Once a poet, always a poet.
Yeah.
All right. And in prose, are you working on fiction or non-fiction?
I've got a bit of both. I'm writing some essays. I've written an essay on typesetting,
Oh, okay. Interesting.
which, a lot of people don't seem to know much about typesetting. It's
Typesetting
weird.
and fonts.
Fonts, that sort of thing.
Yes,
What's
okay.
the most readable fonts?
very interesting.
The history of them, how they developed and evolved and stuff.
Yes.
Just a thing. I used to be a desktop publisher. It's something I got familiar with, and I've read a bit about it over the years. And so,
Right.
I Googled, what's the best font for a poet to
Okay.
use, and this was just ludicrous. It was coming up with calligraphic hand or copperplate or all these weird Comic Sans type
Yes, I see.
typefaces, and I thought, well, that's nonsense. Why is there no serious advice for what is a good typeface for a reader?
Yeah.
So I thought I'd write about that.
Oh, that sounds like a very exciting project. And is it going to be in a book form?
I don't know what I'm going to do. I've sort of written the essay,
Okay.
and I was thinking I might do a little series on a blog or something.
Yes.
I thought I'd do another one on book covers and book design.
Right.
And have good titles, how you get a good title. Always Google your title to see if anybody else has used it and what's there,
Yeah.
It's difficult getting good titles. I think the presentation, the typeface, the title, the book cover,
Yes.
it's so important,
It is
and it's
very
usually
important,
what
yeah.
good writers sometimes fall down on.
Yes.
Yeah,
I can imagine.
It's because often you go to publishers and they tend to give very bland titles if you ask them. Will pick a cliche or a well-worn phrase because it's familiar.
Yeah.
But familiar is not necessarily good.
Good.
You know.
No.
You
Yeah.
want something that stands out a bit.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, Kim Moore's title, All the Men I Never Married. I mean, that's a brilliant title. You Google that, the first thing you come up with is Kim Moore, you know?
Yes, it's very original, definitely, yeah. Yeah, but I was also thinking in terms of typesetting, in a general sense, in publishing, it's very prescriptive, isn't it? That you must use for example, Times New Roman for fiction, for example, most of your essays as well. I assume non-fiction as well. So it's very prescriptive. But yes, there is more freedom in terms of title and.
Yeah, Times New Roman, it's not a very readable typeface. It's strange. And also, I mean, in my day, we used to photocopy a lot.
Right.
And it doesn't actually photocopy because you lose the top of the O's and certain elements in, after a while it becomes fairly indistinct.
Yes.
It's made for short paragraphs
Yes.
and short columns in a newspaper.
Yes.
It's not made for a wider column.
No.
And so
It's.
you need something more like Bembo or Garamond or
Okay.
Baskerville or so typefaces that are made to be read.
To be read, more readable. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm reading a book at the moment by Welsh writer Nigel Jarrett,
Yes,
a fiction writer, and the book is called. It's quite a big title, so I might forget it. But it's a note from the Superhorse shed. That's the title. Very interesting. And he's used a very interesting, unfamiliar sort of font that I'd never seen before in fiction. So I wasn't sure if that was a deliberate choice on his part or the publisher, but it was very interesting.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a bit of both, but sometimes people think, I like that and request it.
Right.
And sometimes it's just what's available to the publisher because
Yeah.
not all fonts are available. Some fonts you have to pay extra to get and so forth.
Oh, I
So,
see.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know about that.
Well, they're usually still sort of copyright, or they redesign them for digital age, and so they recopyrighted a load of old stuff. So, but I mean, they're generally available to use.
Yeah.
And it's usually, I don't think it's that much to get them.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Very inspiring conversation.
Okay.